Oh, all sorted. Okay, here we are at Linear Fisheries in Oxford. Haven't been here for a couple of years myself, but it's a lovely place. They've got 8 stunning day ticket waters. The thing I like about Linear is it's got absolutely everything. You know, from lakes like Brasenose, where you've got lots of doubles and low 20s, and on the other side of the complex you can fish for 30s and even 40 pounders up to 46, 47 I think the lake record is now, the complex record. So it really is a nice mixed fishery. I say 8 day ticket waters that cater for absolutely everything you need. It's a well serviced fishery. It's got toilets all the way around each lake, clean toilets as well, which is rare for a fishing lake. You can drive around all the lakes, you can drop off your gear behind your swims. You can even get takeaway food service to deliver straight to your bivvy, pizzas and curries at night. So it's nice and comfortable fishing. And I've decided today I'm going to fish Brasenose 2, one of the newer lakes on the complex. It's quite heavily stocked. I think it's got somewhere in the region of about 2,000 carp. But they're quite nice looking carp. Not the biggest carp on the complex, but a scaly fish. A few different strains. So I decided to start on here, maybe do 24 hours and see how I get on. The lake's fairly busy. It is bank holiday weekend, or bank holiday week. But there's a few swims empty. There's one I fancy here on the point. So I'm going to wander on down there and see how I get on. Empty swim, not too far to wander from the car, but the Barrow helps a lot. I wouldn't fish without a Barrow, to be honest. This is the hardcore Barrow. It's a single wheel Barrow, big enough, it's adjustable, so it's big enough to take everything I need for a session, everything most people would need for a session. Takes your bed chair, all your various luggage. Makes life so much easier. There we go. While I've got it here, I'll just show you some of the finer points. It's got fully adjustable front and sides, so no matter what sort of load you've got, wide bed chairs, normal bed chairs, you can just fit it up to the size that you want. You can leave it as such when you pack it away, or to reduce space if you've got a smaller car, just package it all down. Front's the same, front extends. It's good to extend the front and put heavy items on the front. Gives you more of a loading over the front wheel, and that way it's lighter on your arms. The arms come off with these. And the whole thing folds down really small and fits in the back of a normal car. You don't even have to remove the wheel, you can just fold it up underneath, goes straight in the back. In fact, I'm putting it away now, so I'll show you. Okay, once back at the car, just loosen off the handles, pop them off, slide it back, remove that. Simple as that. Then in he goes, don't even have to remove the wheel. Takes up hardly any space, still leaves you plenty of room for all your gear. Okay, I've seen a few fish showing on the left hand side of the swim. People have told me it's quite rocky out there, up and down on a few bars. So rather than fish blind and not know if I'm fishing in 2 foot of water or 10 foot of water, I'm going to do a bit of feature finding to start with. Now I've got quite a basic setup, a large lead with a big nice swivel eye, small buffer bead and a standard marker float. And what will happen is I throw this out, because it's a braided line that will transmit the full feel up to the rod. And pull this along the bottom, I'll be able to feel it tapping on the gravel, and by letting the line up a foot at a time, that will give me the depth of the swim in different areas. And then I'll be able to map out where the bars come up, where the gullies fall down, feel where the gravel is. When I get a smooth bit, I'll know that's silt. Then I'll be able to build up a picture of the swim and decide where I want to put my bait. To do this, I've got a dedicated marker rod, which will behave a lot better than just using a normal carp rod. Stiffer in the butt, got a more responsive tip section, and that will transmit the feel of the bottom down through the rod better, and I'll be able to understand what it is I'm pulling over. And a nice large reel loaded with 30-pound braid. Gets a lot of abuse, a marker rod, so it's always good to have a strong, reliable braid on there. Decent reel that's not going to let you down, and that's our dedicated marker rod. So let's chuck it out and see what we can find. I'm going to work my way along far bank markers, so if I do find something interesting, I'll be able to cast back to it. And for those, I use the trees on the skyline, maybe bivvies on the bank, anything that's going to stand out, and I'll be able to remember that spot and cast straight back in the same direction. I'm going to start with those 2 guys standing over there. I'm going out beyond the area where I've seen the fish, because I don't want to spook them by repeatedly putting a 4-ounce lead on top of them. And then I'm going to slowly bring it back into the area. Straight away there I can feel that that's gravel. You can even see it from the tip, the way the tip bouncing, pinging up and down, so that's pulling up either up a bar or across some gravel. So what I'm going to do is take a depth reading there. The rod's set out with a marker at 1 foot. It says 1 foot on there, and it's got a thicker band around it. So what I do is get the float tight to the bottom and then pull the line off 1 foot at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can see the line pinging up, so I don't have to stare out there for the float. 5, 6. There it is, exactly 6 foot. So I know that's now 6 foot deep and on gravel of some description. Pull back a rod length or 2. It's very gravelly out there. And repeat the procedure. Again, still 6 foot, and that's over maybe 3 rod lengths, so that sort of indicates to me that it's a general gravelly bottom rather than a small pronounced hump. And there I can feel it's pulling back. There's a lot more resistance there. I can feel there's no gravel there, so that's a little clump of weed. So if I was to be fishing on top of that gravel, I'd probably pull the marker up to the back of the weed, let it up, and then fish a rod length beyond, so that as the fish come along the gravel area and there's a bank of weed, I'm fishing just over the back of it. And there it is, that's where the weed starts. So I've got a clear 3 or 4 rod lengths of nice, smooth, exposed gravel behind that. And I'll just leave that float up and use that to bait to, with spodding, throwing stick, and casting behind.
So much store is put on pinning your gear down and blending in with the lake bed these days. Obviously we're talking about terminal tackle. What are these leaders all about, Dave? Because I know, well, you actually mentioned it a minute ago when we were chatting. You actually never cast out without one of these now?
No, I don't. No, I use them all the time. I've got a couple actually out of the bag here. What they are basically, they're a polyurethane leader, which quite a few companies market now. But all of these types of leaders have a clear mono inside, usually around 35-pound breaking strain, which you imagine a 35-pound piece of mono, it's quite stiff. So a lot of the leaders will sit up off the bottom, you know, and sort of defeat the object of what you're trying to achieve. And what we've done is we've developed this new style of leader, and it's actually got a braid running through it.
Right.
And it's the only one that has. So it's like a polyurethane coated braid, and that makes it so much more limp.
A lot more supple, yeah.
Yeah, so that obviously when that lays on the bottom, that's going to follow the contours of the bottom, whereas a stiff one with mono in is going to stick up.
Sure.
So I'd say it's not what you're trying to achieve. We do them in 3 colours and a clear to match whatever bottom you're fishing over. This is the muddy brown, and you can see that it's not a solid colour. It's sort of semi-translucent, if you like. You can see through to the coloured braid.
Breaks up, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it's like a clear coating on a coloured braid, but it's like a camouflage braid, if you like.
Yeah.
So it's in different sections, so that when that lays on the bottom, that breaks up the outline of it, which is exactly what you're trying to achieve. Camouflage.
So what are the other two? That's brown.
This is the brown one, and then we've got a silk, a sort of a blacky silk coloured one, real dark one, and then we've got a green one, which is various colours of green, from obviously fishing over weedy green, muddy brown and silky black. And there's also a clear one, and obviously being a clear one, that's, you know, still got the mono in the middle, but it's, people you know, really like it. I like it in certain conditions, especially shallow water, bright conditions. It just completely disappears on the bottom.
Excellent. And I notice obviously it's looped at one end.
It's looped at one end, and they're fused loops. They've got no edges.
Right.
It's completely and utterly smooth, which obviously is nicer for fishing with, didn't get any bits caught in it, but that really comes into effect when you go onto the helicopter or chod leader, which I'll show you in a minute. This one comes just with a swivel, and you attach your own lead clip of choice.
Perfect.
Yeah, so this is for lead release systems.
So the swivel's already included on the
swivel's included in there. It's fused in at the other end.
Yeah. So perfectly safe then, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, completely and utterly safe. And you can use that for running lead, anything really. You know, a complete replacement for lead cores. And also we do this one, which is more aimed at chod users, you know, helicopter rigs. This comes with a lead clip fused into a loop on the end.
Oh, like a quick change clip?
Yeah, quick change clip, so you can just put on any size of lead you want, and a sleeve to cover it.
Right.
So that's the bottom end. It's fused loop at the top, same as the others.
So again, like you said before, there's no knot there, there's no ridge or anything.
No, nothing at all.
That bead should come off nice and easily.
What we've got here is an adjustable bead system. It's a 2-part system, slides up to wherever you want. The inner is quite a tight fit, so that's going to hold, you know, wherever you want. If you lick it a bit, you can slide it up to whatever height you want. And the bead, you just damp the sleeve. The bead you can put on as tight as required.
Right.
You know, so if you was using a chod on this swivel, it's got a large eye swivel that also comes on, you know, supplied with it.
Okay.
This is just going to fly up in flight to your required depth, whatever silt or weed you're fishing over, and that bead comes off easily off the back. Now the bead itself's got, if you look at that, it's got a much larger bore than a normal rig bead.
I can see that.
And that's the idea, that this then travels up, and this is where the seamless loop comes into effect. That just passes straight over the top.
Very little effort there, is it, to take that off?
Your rig will take that up, large eye swivel, it's coming off every time. And the best method of attaching these is just simply to form a loop on the end of your main line, pass it through, and then drop the whole rig through, so it's loop to loop. That's the strongest method and the smallest knot. So this bead and this safety swivel and your rig, if you were to crack off, you know, the fish can just shake that bead off and drop the whole lot.
Brilliant, brilliant. What about the lengths? What sort of length is
We're doing 3 different lengths. We do a 20 inch, a 36 inch and a 48 inch. So covers all situations.
Right,
really.
you'd use the shorter one if you're chucking it further.
Yeah. The longer leader you use, the more distance you lose, you know, on the cast. personally, I mean 36 I think is perfect.
It's a good all-rounder,
yeah, it
isn't
gives you a nice
Yeah.
drop.
Yeah.
But there are situations where you may want a longer leader, depending what you're fishing through or on. Maybe you're fishing on a top of quite a sharp bar and you want that extra bit of protection.
Brilliant. I'm impressed with those. I really like those.
Yeah, I think they're
lots of features. I think all of them.
I think they're the next generation
Yeah.
of this type of leader, without a doubt. The braid makes such a big difference to the finished product.
Brilliant. Should we take a look at some in the water?
Yeah, excellent. Right, as you can see here, even in this shallow gin clear margin, which is the most exposed you're ever going to get, where your fishing is going to be a lot more coloured than this, but even in these clear margins you can see clearly the bait sitting there, and then as you pan along the lead stands out, but once you get to the leader you can see that broken effect, the way it lays across that two coloured bottom there. Just appears like little pieces of straw, little strands of weed, blends in against the gravel. You compare that to a jet black or dark brown line of a lead core leader, and the difference is incredible. And you can see how it bends and wants to hug the bottom. Totally camouflaged. They're not going to pick up on that as a piece of fishing equipment at all. Well, this one's picked up a single yellow pop-up out there on that area I was talking about in the middle. They do pull in here for the size of them. He's managed to get behind what feels like a little lump of gravel. There's a lot of gravel up and down, little bars out there. And he's just hugging the back of one of them. But hopefully the lead's come off and I should be able to get him up over the top. Oh yeah, he's moving nicely now. He's kiting right round to the left. As long as he doesn't pick up one of them other rods, we'll be all right. Even with that stiffer tip on this rod, he's still putting a fair old account up of himself. Every one you hook in here feels like a 30. But there's only 130 in here, so I doubt it. They certainly like to pull. Come on, in you come. Moved over here to avoid the other rods, and now it's kiting around under them. Typical, really. Come on, round you come. Here it comes. He's in the edge now. Our braided casting leaders on the spool. We're in. Comes. And he's in. He's out. And there he is, one in the net, still got a little yellow pop-up hanging out the side of his mouth. Perfect spring method. He's a nice little fish actually, chunky little one. Beautiful. Let's get him up on the bank and see what he weighs. Right, here he is on the bank. Typical braised nose 2 mirror. Look at them lovely little scale pattern inside there. Still got leeches on as well. I was saying about them being sort of holed up out there in their winter quarters. They're still covered in these little leeches. But they are starting to move about now and have a bit of a munch up. But this one couldn't resist. Single yellow pop-up out there on its own. They're lovely fish. Imagine that when it's about 10 pound bigger, that'll be an absolute stonker. Lovely. Right, while I got him on the bank, perfect chance to show you this floating retaining sling. If you do get a fish like this and you're not all set up, you know, ready, you haven't got your camera and your scales and everything out, you might have just turned up, chucked out and had one straight away, rather than leave them on the mat, especially on hard ground. I mean, this isn't too bad, but it's still best never to leave them unattended. And on lakes like this where you've got a no sacking rule, I mean, there's no need to sack a fish like this, but you might want 5 minutes to get your stuff in order, get your camera set up, maybe get your mate round to take a photo. Just pop him into one of these. Make sure it's already nicely staked out before you start. Tied on nice and secure. On these top arms, you've got flotation devices, 4 of them. So that'll hold that sling up in place, and you've got a nice big mesh here that will give you a good flow of oxygen through there. But he's only going to be in there 5 minutes while you sort your camera out. You've got to make sure the water's deep enough, you've got enough cord. Just plop him in the edge. So you just want to plop him in, make sure he's facing the right way, he's upright, and all his fins are held back against his body, not bent up. Like I say, he's only going to be in here for a little while. Make sure he's got enough depth of water. Seal, that'll float on the top. He's nice and safe in there. Just gently slide him out to the end of your cord. And he's fine like that, 5–10 minutes while you sort your camera out, get your scales, get everything ready. Straight up on the mat, deal with him, and away he goes. Just gives you a little bit of breathing space. Right, it's quite important on these sort of waters that are well stocked. You know, if you get a bite, especially when the fish are shoaled up like they are at the moment, to get a rig out there as soon as possible on the same spot, because there's always a chance of another bite straight away. Might just add a little shoal of them move over you, and you want to get it straight back in position. So I'm just going to pop another little yellow one on out, replace the lead, and whack it straight back out there. Right, for anyone that's spent a fair amount of time sitting on a bed chair like this looking out, they know how painful your back can get. You just sat hunched over all the time, but at the moment I'm as comfy as, because I've got my little Bedmate. Just sits on top of the bed, adjustable like a deck chair, 3 positions, and just supports your back, and most importantly stops you sinking down into the bed chair and supports your lower section of your back, so you can sit there all day totally comfortable staring out at the lake. Lovely. Right, let's get him back out there. Although I'm fishing at maximum range and not clipped up, I've still got 3 far bank markers, so I know the direction he's going in. This is towards that big stand of trees in the distance there. It's always important to pick a high bank marker for a back marker, because when it gets dark, obviously anything on the bank that's got trees behind it you're not going to see. So I always go for treetops and pylons and anything on the skyline. That's the one. Perfect. So there's a few more out there. Just getting all the lines sunk down here, because quite a crosswinds now picked up. I don't want it to bow out and then sink down behind weed or bars. So keep a direct line on him. When I'm fishing with mono, always take the stretch out of it. If you fish with too tight a line, you don't get a very good indication. So although the bobbins are right at the top, there's actually no stretch left in the line. I just peel it off until I can feel that it's not slack, but it's not taut. There he is, ready to go.
Right then, Dave, it's not something that I'm used to seeing you with, but obviously you're using a pod today. What's that all about?
Yeah. No, it's not something I use an awful lot, but it's something that I always keep in the motor. I mean, the whole thing, although it looks like quite a big unit there, all packs down into this little bag, which I keep behind the seat in the car.
Right.
And it's handy if you turn up and you've got a swim like this, you know, especially if you're going to a lake you don't know. I've come up and stuck in the past. I went to a lake in France, and the swim that I'd chosen, there was just no way you were going to get a bank stick in.
No.
Didn't have a pod with me. It was a nightmare. You know, you end
wow.
up with a bank stick at this angle and one at this angle, and the whole setup's wobbly and terrible. So it's perfect for that, and it's better than hammering. I can't stand people that hammer bank sticks.
Yeah,
in,
nothing worse.
You know, you set up, the fish might be 20 yards out. By the time you've got your 3 bank sticks in, they're 120 yards out. So a pod comes in perfectly handy for that. And this one, light speed pod, it's completely adjustable. It adjusts in length, in height, front and back. The actual buzzer bars lift up on their own, so if you were taking it to France, for example, you know, and you've got like rocks and stuff in the edge and you want a typical French setup with the tips up in the air, it's capable of that.
Right.
Or if you want a low down setup like this for normal English fishing, it's adjustable to that as well.
Looks the part as well, everything's just spaced nicely.
Yeah.
The rods look nice and neat on it, which it shouldn't matter, but it's very important these days, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah, we've got everything to look nice, and it's very, very solid. You know, the way it's all braced, once it's up, it's completely rock solid.
It's nice and low as well, I like that. A lot of pods, you see, they're just a bit too high, and you just think, well...
Well, that lower sort of centre of gravity obviously makes it more stable. I mean, the pods of old, if you got a bite on your left-hand or right-hand rod, quite often they were going over, weren't they? The whole thing would tip over, but this is, you know, I mean, once they're braced against each other, it's absolutely rock solid.
Excellent.
So it's a very handy thing, you know, if you don't use a pod all the time to keep in the motor, and if you do use a pod all the time, you know, this is
and maybe that's the one for you.
Good model, yeah.
Sure.
Just wound all 4 rods in to put fresh baits on and have a recast, and foul looked to fish on the way in, so I decided to drop one a little bit shorter, and had a bite almost straight away. So maybe they've moved in a bit closer, and that's why I wouldn't get so much action. This one was only in there a couple of minutes and he was away. Unbelievable, these, they fight so hard, and then when they pop up they're half the size you was expecting them to be. There he is. Lovely job. There he is. Nice little mirror. Hopefully with a few more to follow. Seem to have found a few closer in now, so see what we can make of it.